Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and iOS 13 is just around the corner, at least to see what the features are for the first time, and we expect that to be shown in June on the first week when there's the Worldwide Developer Conference. Always the first day of the Worldwide Developer Conference, or WWDC, we have a keynote from Apple and they show off the features of the next version of the OS. Now, for those of you that are not familiar, they release the developer version and then a few weeks later they'll release the public version or public beta, and then in September when the new iPhones come out, that's when they release it to the public. So it's going to be a while until we see the final release version, but at least we'll see what's in it when it comes to the next version of iOS, and sometimes they leave surprises until the end. Now, there was a huge leak today, or at least at the time of this recording the same day, where 9to5Mac had some really reliable sources tell them what some of the features are going to be in iOS 13. And I don't normally report on rumors, but I wanted to share with you exactly what was shared, since it seems to be things we've all wanted for quite some time, and some things we haven't thought of, but they're quite nice. Now, the first thing is a dark mode, and many people have been asking for a dark mode for quite some time, and this gives you an idea what it looks like on my iPhone XS Max. I have display accommodations turned on, and I have what's called Smart Invert turned on, and that's under your accessibility settings in general under display accommodations. And so when that's turned on, everything is inverted. The colors are where everything was white, they are now black. So if I go into music, you'll see that the background is black. And that really helps with battery life in things like OLED displays, because they can turn off all of those black pixels and save some battery life. So that'll be nice to see across all of iOS, just like they did on macOS. Now, the next thing that they're going to be updating is multitasking, and multitasking in particular on the iPad. So the iPad is a really useful tool, but I think they're trying to make a push to make it more of a pro device in the sense of doing real work regularly on it, as opposed to using, say, a MacBook. And so what that means is multitasking currently is double tap, maybe swipe away some apps, or bring in Safari, swipe up, and then maybe drag in something like music, pull down from the top, and then you've got split view and you can view both of them. But it should be more easy to manage dragging and dropping between the apps, and also maybe some windowed versions. We're not really sure 100% what new multitasking means, but it does mean that they're going to make a better push to get more use out of the iPad. And another way they're going to get more use out of the iPad is with fonts. And on the Mac side of things, you have FontBook, which allows you to update fonts on the system, put in new fonts, and use those with things like Pixelmator or even LumaFusion or whatever. You'd be able to use those with your creativity app and create things that don't look just like the standard fonts that are included with the system. So I look forward to that. I would use that with Pixelmator in particular myself. And another thing on the iPad would be Safari. So when you go into Safari and you go to things like YouTube, generally you will get, let's see if we can try this. Generally, you will go to YouTube and you'll have something that is a mobile version like the iPhone. If you want the version that looks like what you get on a Mac, you would tap and hold the refresh button in Request Desktop Site. And then you get the full version of YouTube. And that's really what we want when we're on an iPad with a larger screen. We just want the full version of the website. And it looks like iOS 13 will recognize that when you're on an iPad and give you the full version from the desktop. So that'll be really nice to see when that's out. Now, aside from just iPad features, it looks like Mail is going to get an update to be a little bit more like things that are modern, like Gmail, where you could snooze emails, also have them grouped into categories such as important, not important, or even things like newsletters would be able to be grouped like they do in apps like Gmail or Spark that I have here. So that will be really nice to see. Now, another thing that I've wanted for a very long time is a new way to use undo. So if I go into notes here, for example, and just type something like my name, there we go. Maybe I delete my name and I didn't mean to do that. I want to undo. Well, currently I have to shake the phone, get undo to pop up, and tap undo. Well, that seems to be a really goofy way to do things. And so they added the gesture where you can move the cursor around, but now apparently in iOS 13, you'll be able to use 3 fingers, tap the keyboard, slide left for undo, slide right for redo. And so that looks like they're going to finally fix that goofy gesture of shaking your phone to undo. You'll just be able to use your 3 fingers. And that's something I'm surprised they didn't do a lot earlier. Also, they're going to fix the volume control. So where you use volume and it just sits in the middle of the display, and when you see that go up and down, it'll be to the side like Android maybe, or at the top near the clock or something like that. It makes a lot more sense just to move it. We know what the volume button's doing. We could use a little gesture or a little icon telling us what it's doing out of the way, especially when we're using video. It won't cover the video. So that'll be something that's in iOS 13 as well. Now, there's a couple other things that we know so far. There will be a redesigned Reminders app, whatever that means. Reminders isn't heavily used by a lot of people. I use it for a few things, but they'll be redesigning that for probably iOS and the Mac. And then also there's going to be better Siri rejection for when you say hey in front of that, or just that in general. A lot of the times it'll be triggered just from having normal conversations, and it looks like it's going to be fixed in iOS 13. So hopefully that means they'll update Siri as well. And then finally, there will be better multilingual support for keyboards and dictation. So if you use different languages, hopefully they'll be a little bit better when you're speaking to it and things like that. We don't know any of the details more than that so far, but that's quite a big leak as to what's coming in the next versions of iOS. A dark mode will be welcomed by many. I particularly don't like it on the Mac, at least to look at it all day. I find it a little bit depressing, surprisingly. So I may use it on the iPhone. I might not. I'm not sure, but I'm really looking forward to those updates on the iPad. But let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description as I always do. If you haven't subscribed already, though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If not, the other one's okay too. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.